Hi, I'm here with Laleh Nader, a yoga teacher, and we're going to talk about the practice of yoga and how it can be helpful for women who are entering into the second half of life. So Laleh, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into yoga?
Well, I've been in the health and wellness industry for 20 years, and I was a hip hop dancer. And so it was about 15 years ago, I got an injury. I hurt my knee, and I was looking at some ways to heal my knee. And I heard about that yoga could be very helpful. And I never tried it before, so I went to Jivamukti Yoga Center and I joined a yoga class and I started practicing yoga. And not only did my knee get better, but I started to notice that I started to feel different. Without even knowing it, I had connected to a deeper part of myself that was more still, more quiet. I guess you could call it my spirit. And having that connection with myself started to shift how I looked at things in life, in everyday life. So I found myself getting less nervous, less stressed about things, more calm, and also I would just feel really blissful sometimes for no reason at all, especially as soon as I finished my yoga class. When I would walk out of my class, I felt like I was walking on air, and I just thought, I want more of this.
So did your knee get better and your body start to feel better?
Yes, my knee got better. My whole body got better. You know, I feel like the movements of yoga were smoother for my body. It was a way of treating my body and looking at myself in a more loving way. So instead of pushing myself, because before it was all about pushing myself to the extreme, instead of listening to my body, which is ultimately what hurt my knee, was kind of like not really paying attention to what was going on with my body. So it really got me to learn to focus on my body, to tune into how I feel, because how we feel changes every day. And rather than fight that and always try to push myself harder and harder, to really listen to my body and to understand that there were maybe days when I can push a little harder, and then there might be other days where I need to be more gentle with myself, and it's all good.
So how did you get into the teaching?
Well, it was helping me so much, and I decided I wanted to share what I was learning as a teacher with other people. So I started teaching some stretch classes, and then I decided to get certified and just go ahead and make it my profession. So after that, I became certified in yoga and started teaching, and I've been doing that for the past 10 years, teaching yoga specifically.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about how yoga would be specifically beneficial for women who are over 40 and facing the second half of their life.
Well, I think that as a woman who's over 40 now and moving into that phase of my life, I feel so lucky that I've had yoga to help me, to move through. So I started, basically in my late 20s and 30s and have kept doing it. But you can start now. Like, it's never too late to start, and you can still get all the benefits. Some of the main things, and I think especially for women as we're getting older, are we want to feel flexible. We want to maintain our flexibility. Balance is a big issue for women and people in general as we age, because you don't want to fall, you don't want to hurt yourself. We always hear stories of people who fall and they hurt their hip, and next thing you know, they have to have a hip replacement, right? So we also want to have that mobility in our joints, that fluidity of movement. So yoga really helps to keep that fluidity as we get older. The other thing is of course, we've all heard that and seen that as people age, they get shorter, they get more hunched over. And actually, because what happens is, from all those years of standing up, gravity starts to affect your spine, and the spine actually becomes, the space between your vertebra becomes less. We become more compressed in the spine. But yoga extends your spine. Yoga is all about extending, lengthening, and for your posture, most of the poses really help to open up your chest and strengthen your upper back muscles so that you naturally stand taller. People have even noticed, even people that are over 40, that after practicing for maybe 6 months to a year, they actually got a little bit taller, and at least they didn't shrink. The other areas that it's really helpful with is in terms of staying young and youthful. We don't want to get a lot of wrinkles. We don't want to look like we're aging. That comes a lot from stress, which is, it's external factors that we internalize,
Right.
and then eventually it shows up.
And stress definitely affects our physical self. It's not just all mental.
Right.
So finding out yoga really helps to relieve stress.
Yeah, well, stress starts, it first starts in our mind, and then it's transmitted into our body. So what we do in yoga is we realize, we can't really change or control other people, places, or things in our lives. But it gives you that self-control. We can start to look at how we react to things that are going on in our lives, and then have a practice to go to relieve that stress. But you start to notice, like I mentioned before, that what happened to me is that same thing you can take off the mat. So once you learn what that feels like to breathe, to relax, to slow down and calm your mind and focus, you can start to practice that in your everyday life.
So it's not just taking away stress while you're practicing yoga, it's learning how to take that stress away all throughout the day. So in your everyday life, you'll just be able to go back and use those skills that you learn in yoga to apply it to reducing stress throughout your whole life. That's a big thing.
That's a big thing. Yes, exactly.
And tell me a little bit more about one of the specific physical benefits that you focus on in yoga that we don't always focus on in other fitness type things.
Well, one thing that can become a concern, again, for women as we're getting older and over 40, is our pelvic floor muscles. So many women have had children, had babies, and or even as you get older, the integrity of the pelvic floor muscle decreases, and so some women have issues with incontinence, and that's a big concern.
Yeah.
You want to keep those muscles taut, and there aren't a lot of exercises or modalities that really focus on that. But yoga has something called Mula Bandh, it's called root lock, and you learn to pull in and up and lift those pelvic floor muscles, and then squeeze them and hold them.
It's kind of like doing a Kegel exercise, right?
Yes, it's like doing Kegels.
But instead of just doing Kegels by themselves while you're sitting, you learn how to isolate it, and then you also apply it or engage it when you're doing the poses as well.
Exactly. So it's applied Kegel muscles, right? You're using it in a functional way. And once you get the hang of that, which is something that, your yoga teacher could teach you how to do, and you can practice it, you can find yourself doing it in everyday life. Like when I'm running up a set of stairs, like trying to get from one place to another in the subway, to help me be stronger and get up those stairs, I'll pull in and up with my pelvic floor muscles. It takes a lot of the effort out of my knees and my hips, and I can strengthen my pelvic floor and my abdominals while I'm going about my everyday activities.
Right, the pelvic floor and the abdominals are
very connected.
Right?
Yeah. If you've ever done Pilates or any core work, you know that the pelvic floor muscles are connected to your core as well. So that's just another added benefit of, staying youthful. These are all things that help us to feel young, vibrant, energetic, and have a positive take on moving forward in our lives. Yoga also, once we start to really cultivate our minds, it creates a sense of wisdom and an inner connectedness to yourself, and a trusting of yourself, and a confidence and a love. And so no matter what age you are, that comes through whenever you walk into a room, whenever you're dealing with things in life. That quiet, silent confidence, that feeling of self-acceptance and love comes through the inside. And so it really doesn't matter. You don't really care about your age because you feel so good.
That's really wonderful, Laleh. Well, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Namaste.